Hi guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Shanika and this is Truth from My Perspective. Thanks to everyone who watched my previous video and thanks to all who commented. In this video though, I want to speak about something that was really birthed from a video I saw quite recently. And it was somebody who I knew in high school. She was sharing about an experience, an abusive situation that she was a part of, and how hard it was for her to break out of that situation. Perhaps it's still lingering over her. And it just brought me to think about all the things that women go through as a result of just finding themselves in a dependent situation. No, I'm not saying that that's the only situation, and I'm not saying that was her reason for falling into that. But I know that at many times, as women, we find ourselves in situations where we are dependent on men. But what I do know is that us as women, we have power. And if we only knew the power that we have, if we were only to know the value of who we are, to know our worth, if we only knew our worth, then a lot of what we allow, a lot of the decisions that we make, we would not have made those decisions. Lady, I'm speaking to you specifically because I want to encourage each and every woman who may be watching or may just come into the hearing of this video. Empower yourself, my dear. Empower yourself. You don't have to be in a dependent situation. And if it is something that you're currently in, you don't have to stay in it for the rest of your life. Start making steps. Start taking little steps as a way to becoming more independent and less dependent on men for food, for fulfillment. Empower yourself enough to know that you're worth more and that you cannot be bought. Because the truth is, a lot of times when we allow ourselves to be bought, we compromise on our value. And it's not that we only compromise on our value, but we compromise on the safety and health of our children. We find ourselves in a situation where we allow, by virtue of just not being in a position to take care of ourselves, to take care of our families, we allow ourselves to compromise. We allow ourselves to lower our standards. You don't have to allow someone to speak to you less than the standard for which you have set for yourself. You don't have to accept help in a way where you will have to compromise on your morals and your values. Empower yourself enough. And it doesn't, you don't even have to have money, really, to know your value and to know your worth. You don't have to. But just be determined about what it is that you will allow. And you first have to love yourself enough to know. Somebody can't love you if you don't love yourself because you don't know what to expect. And some of it is gonna start from us breaking certain habits. Break certain habits. It is so frustrating to me sometimes when I see, well, I'll see it and I'll also hear it. There's this culture nowadays where I hear young women calling each other bro. Or even I've watched videos and I'll see a male and a female interaction, and the male will be calling, sometimes it's his girlfriend or his partner, and he'll be referring to her as bro. No, I don't believe, honestly, I do not believe those things should happen. I don't believe that a male is supposed to be able to address you and refer to you in a certain way that he refers to and addresses his friends. You're not one of his bros. You're not one of the homies. Recognize that you're a lady. Recognize your value. Recognize your worth. Recognize your role. As soon as you start to recognize these things, there's a shift in your attitude and there's a shift in what you allow. It means that if somebody doesn't address you properly, then you know how to respond or to not respond. But it cannot be business as usual. You have to be able to put yourself in a position where you know your worth and you know your value. What it means then is that, and fine, if you already find yourself in a situation where you are dependent, you're with someone who you find yourself to be dependent on that person. You see some of the money that you take to do your hair and to take to do your nails? Save it. Do a course. Do a course. Get a certificate so that you can get a job to do a little for yourself. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be much, and it doesn't have to take a big step. It does not have to be a big step. And I'm not saying that as women we cannot accept help, but it should not be at the expense of our integrity. Sometimes we feel stuck. I know what it feels like to feel stuck in a situation. I know what it feels like. Back in college, when I had to share room with someone in a way of splitting the bill or the rent, I remember that situation becoming very toxic. But I couldn't afford the rent in its entirety at the time, so I felt stuck. Luckily, it was just for a semester, and at the end of that semester, at the end of that year, I no longer would have to deal with that situation. But I know what it feels like to feel stuck. And so for me, what that had taught me back then is that no matter what situation I find myself in, I have to be able to do for me what I need to do in order to survive. It means that if I'm going to look at a rent, I'm not going to take out a rent that is expensive, that I can't manage on my own. Because I cannot guarantee that somebody is always going to be there, and you may not always want somebody to be there because you have to protect you. You have to protect you. Love yourself enough to walk away. Love yourself enough to be single for a moment. Do not stay in an abusive situation. Do not stay in an abusive relationship. Now, I thank God that that young lady, she's still alive and well and is able to tell her tale. But sometimes we see the signs of these abusive, unhealthy, toxic relationships. And the moment you see it, I want to say walk away from it. And if it is that your life is being threatened, then you'll have to seek some help. But if it has not yet reached to that extent, walk away. No amount of money is worth your life. No amount of money is worth your self-worth. And I want to encourage somebody, whether it is that you've not yet gone into that situation, stay away from that situation. Stay clear of it. Stay clear of it. Be a woman who mentally thinks about what it is that she wants for her life. Be a woman who thinks about her role, her value, her moral. What makes you you? You don't have to have money to know your worth. You don't have to have money to know your worth, because your worth should not be able to be bought. Love yourself, my dear. Until you learn to love yourself, nobody will learn to love you. Until you learn to love yourself, you won't know what it really means to walk in that level of fulfillment, where anybody who comes into your life knows that they will have to work on themselves and work on their character, because it's not for material things. Because it's not for material things. You're not able to be bought. You're not able to be bought. Do for yourself. Do for your children. Do for your family. Set that example. Set that example for your daughter, for your mother, for a sister. Set that example. Do not allow yourselves to be bought, ladies. Know your worth, and do not settle. Do not settle. Do not settle. Not even in your girl circles. Do not settle. Do not compromise. Another thing that I never allow, and I would not even. My friends know this about me. I hear people joke around and they call each other the B word. If you don't know what's the B word I'm referring to, you can ask your friend. I don't joke about that word. I don't allow my friends to call me that word in jest. No. Because I know my worth. And I'll never compromise on my value. So certain things I do not allow. And I just want to implore you, women, don't lower your standard. Don't lower your standard. Don't compromise your values and your morals for the sake of fitting in, for the sake of wearing the latest thing. Sacrifice. Make the sacrifice to build you, to uplift you, to empower you, so that you're able to just walk with your head held high. That way you don't have to settle. You don't have to stay in an abusive situation and in an unhealthy situation. I hope that this message will find somebody today. And I want to say, be blessed. Be blessed until we meet again.